Hi, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule, and in this session, I want to talk about, or even to ask us a question: what is the future of sustainable development? Really, for sustainability, is it something to see? And if so, what needs to be done? So, what does the future hold? And looking ahead, we the first thing we notice that we all have a role to play to ensure sustainable development. I have a role to play. You have a role to play. Your government has a role to play. And the international community has a role to play. And it's not just us, but also the investors, the companies, people who are doing businesses. We all have a role to play. And this takes us to the issue of what exactly do we need to do? So for the governments, it would be more of setting up the relevant laws, regulations, and institutions that are aimed at enforcing the different pillars of sustainability. For the individuals, for me and you, we have a role to play to ensure that in whatever we do, we take into consideration the principles of sustainability. Do you recycle? Are you using recycled products? Do you raise awareness in your community about sustainability? This is something you can do as an individual. And for the international community, is to ensure that they have international policies that align with the principles of sustainability. Because we have already seen at the international level, we came up with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But it's not just enough to identify the goals for a sustainable development. You also have to ensure that there is capacity building, the finances are there that can be able to achieve the various UN SDGs, and also that can be able to enhance the principles of sustainability, including the environmental pillar, the social pillar, and the economic pillar. So in today's discussion, that's what we want to talk about, the future of sustainable development. So I'm Dr. Victoria Nalule, and I always start by mentioning my books because I'm proud of the books. I'm an author of 7 books. These are the books, and my focus is on energy, climate change, the mining sector, energy transitions, international arbitration in the energy and mining sectors, and land law and extractives. So in today's session, you should be able to understand all the UN SDGs and how they are interconnected, identify how we can balance all the principles of sustainability, explore case studies, analyze the role of law in shaping a sustainable future. So, what does the future of sustainability entail? Like I've already mentioned, we all have a role to play, but a role to play in doing what? First, we have this role in ensuring that we are balancing all the UN SDGs so that one SDG is not being obtained or achieved at the expense of other SDGs. And then we also have to ensure that as we're achieving the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we achieve them while taking into consideration the principles of sustainability, including the economic principle, environmental, and the social principle. And also, we have to ask ourselves what we can do as individuals in achieving the various principles of sustainability. And lastly, the most important thing really is to have an enabling legal framework, economic policies, and also the institution framework that can ensure that we achieve the sustainable development goals. So we already talked about the various pillars of sustainability, and the question that we need to ask is, what is the future of the economic pillar? What is the future of the social pillar? And what is the future of the environmental pillar? So that is how we can break it down. Otherwise, we can take 2 years trying to understand what the future of sustainability is. And also, if we are to start with the future of the environmental pillar, the first thing is really to ensure that we effectively protect the environment. And how can we achieve environmental protection? Now we're talking about the future of the environmental pillar. We already know that there are various activities that are taking place in our countries, in our societies, that are detrimental to our environment. For instance, the issue of deforestation is rampant. The issue of pollution is everywhere, from the transport sector, from the industries, from the energy sector. The issue of gas flaring for the countries that are involved with fossil fuels, the issue of oil spills, all these are some of the things that are damaging the environment. They're not the only ones. Think about other aspects that you feel are making it hard for us to achieve the environmental pillar. And then ask yourself, what does the future hold when it comes to achieving the environmental pillar? So in this example, I focus on the first challenge of deforestation. And what would the future be without deforestation? Or what can we do to protect the forests? First and foremost, you notice that the important role of forests is visible in our countries, in our economies, and statistics show that nearly 1/3 of people directly depend on forests for their livelihoods, and 80% of all terrestrial plants, insects, and animals call forests their home. So you see the value of forests. And the question would be, if there is a rise in deforestation, then there's no future for forests. So the question would be, how can we be able to protect the forest or to enhance the environmental pillar? So the first thing is you need to end deforestation, and that also complies with the UN SDG 15, which talks about life on land, because when you're ending deforestation, you're not only protecting the environment, but you're also protecting these animals and insects and the people who are dependent on these forests. And what can you do as a person? First, you need to plant a tree. Get involved in initiatives that are focused on planting trees. Go paperless. Do you always need to have paper? Is it something you can, if it's a document, can you review it on your phone? So instead of printing it out, go paperless. That is one way how you can contribute in achieving the SDG 15, but also in promoting the environmental pillar. Buy recycled products and also recycle whatever products you're using. Capacity building and awareness. Take time to tell people about how they can enhance the UN SDG 15 or how they can enhance the environmental pillar. So like I mentioned, we all have a role to play, and that is our role. So because if we are looking at the future of sustainable development, the future of sustainability, and we are looking at the environmental pillar, it means that we all have a role to play. So we should ensure that we play that role, and also ensure that our governments comply with the various pillars of sustainability. And then here I look at the example of the UN SDG on life on water, which mostly focuses on conserving and sustainably using oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. So what role can you play? First, you need to avoid using plastic bags. so that they don't end up in the oceans. So as a person, you have a role to play. It's not all the time that it's only governments and international organizations that hold the future of sustainability. You also have a big role to play. So now moving forward, looking at how the governments can achieve the environmental pillar. First, they need to stop gas flaring. And initially reports, if I give the example of the West Africa, initially reports had indicated that the gas that was being flared in Nigeria was capable of electrifying the entire ECOWAS region. But however, governments have taken measures to utilize this gas. And as such, you have seen the establishment of the West African gas pipeline. And recently, on 15th September 2022, the ECOWAS and the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Kingdom of Morocco signed a memorandum of understanding in Morocco to contribute to the development of the gas pipeline. So this is one way of how countries now are trying to utilize gas for economic development, for electrification, instead of just flaring it. So that shows that the future of sustainability is in good hands, because now the individuals know the role they have to play, and we should play that role. The governments know their role, they know their obligation. So if they can be able to play the role and also meet all their obligations, then we can easily say that the future of sustainability is in good hands. Now, moving forward, what is the future of the economic pillar of sustainability? First, the economic laws and policies should comply with the social and environmental pillars. So we shouldn't only focus at ensuring that it's just economic development, but we have to ensure that that economic development really complies with the environmental protection issues and also complies with the social pillar of sustainability. Taking an example of the UN SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, you would ask yourself, what is the future of sustainable construction? Because now here we're looking at a case study. Because remember, also in this session, for you to really understand the future of sustainable development, you should focus on a sector, on a country, so that you identify the challenges and also see how we can tackle those challenges to ensure that moving forward, the future of sustainability in that sector is bright or is promising. So if we are to achieve the sustainable construction as stipulated in the UN SDG 11, first, we need to promote sustainable design, durability, energy efficiency, waste reduction, indoor air quality, water conservation, sustainable building materials. All these should be taken into consideration when we are talking about the future of sustainable cities and communities. Otherwise, if we don't have sustainable designs, then we don't have any future with respect to achieving the UN SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. If we cannot reduce waste, then we cannot comply with the environmental pillar. Water conservation in these cities is also key. Sustainable building materials. So here you understand that it's not very easy really to achieve these UN SDGs in a sustainable manner, because you have to look at the project life cycle of that sector and ensure that at every aspect of the life cycle, you employ sustainable materials, sustainable solutions, sustainable designs, so that you can have the sustainable cities and communities we're talking about in the UN SDG 11. So this is simply an example that in every sector, because here we're looking at the future of sustainable construction, but in every sector, be it the transport sector. For the transport sector, first you have to reduce reliance on diesel and petrol-fired vehicles and focus on electric vehicles. So that will be the first thing. If you look at the fashion sector, the fashion industry, what is the future of sustainability in that industry? Then you look at it and say, this is what it should encompass. We're in the era of digitalization, innovation, and technological advancement. But what are the materials that are being used in these AI technology? You might find some of the materials are got from the mining sector. So how sustainable is the mining sector, because it's an extractive industry? So you understand, for us to have a sustainable future, we have to look at the project life cycle of every sector and ensure that whatever is being done at one stage is complying with the principles of sustainability. Let's not just look at the end product, but you have to go back and ensure that everything that is being done to get this end product is sustainable. So this takes us to the question of what is the future of these UN SDGs. In your free time, you can try to find out what are the various ways that what are the various initiatives we are taking to achieve the goals, the UN SDG goals, and are these initiatives sustainable or they're unsustainable? This is the main question, because if you're talking about the future of sustainable development, you have to ask yourself, are the initiatives taken to achieve the UN SDGs, are they sustainable or they're unsustainable? And if they're unsustainable, then you have to review and find ways of ensuring that everything that we do complies with the sustainable principles. So the most important thing as we're doing that, or as we're talking about the future of sustainability, is the need to balance all the pillars. So the future of sustainability will require us to balance all the pillars of sustainability. This means that the laws, policies, and regulations should balance the economic, environmental, and social concerns at every stage of the project life cycle, every sector. And then investments, because at the end of the day, you notice that we need massive investments to achieve all these goals. So you have to ask yourself, are the investments also sustainable in ensuring that they address the various sustainable development goals? So that's also another key thing to really look at. So moving forward, looking at the future, what are the tools of sustainable development and how should these be embraced? First, we have the economic instruments. The economic instruments are very key in ensuring that we have a sustainable future and that we achieve all the different sustainable development goals. Then the legislative measures, like we already mentioned, laws and policies, they they're the backbone for every activity we do in our communities. So the legislative measures should also be able to really take into consideration all the principles of sustainability. And like I mentioned at the beginning, we all have a role to play, and we have seen this through consumer pressures. So someone will say like, oh, I can't do anything. I can't force companies to comply with the principles of sustainability. But we have seen it with consumer pressures. Individuals and societies have a big role to play in shaping the future of sustainable development. And also another thing is capacity building and raising awareness. You can do that, your government can do that, and the international organizations can do that to ensure that they raise awareness. So let's start with the consumer pressure and what kind of role it can play in shaping the future of sustainability. So consumers can push industries towards sustainability by determining the economic pillar of sustainability. For if you're a consumer and you believe that you're buying products from a company that doesn't really incorporate the principles of sustainability, you can decide not to buy those products. And remember, companies, they are driven by profits. So if they're making products and you're not buying them, that means they're going to make losses unless if they change their standards and ensure that they comply with the principles of sustainability. So that's one way of how you can play a role and how consumer pressure really can be a great tool in achieving the various sustainable development goals and also in shaping the future of sustainability. The other thing is the role of economic instruments in the future of sustainability. So the fiscal regime is very key because it will determine the relationship between the government, the host government, and the investors. It will also determine how much revenue is to be got from a particular sector, including the taxations that are to be set, the incentives and subsidies that can encourage either clean energy and electric vehicles or encourage sustainable development. So the economic instruments really are to be determined by the government. So the government should set incentives and subsidies or the fiscal regime that promotes sustainable development, because it's in their powers to determine which sector really can thrive in a country by setting like low taxes or even giving them incentives and subsidies. So this is another instrument that can be used in shaping the future of sustainability. Then like here, I talk about utilizing economic policies to secure the future of sustainability. The government has a crucial role to play in implementing economic policies and ensuring that these enhance sustainability. This includes strategies to redistribute income from the rich to the poor, taxation of unsustainable businesses, and also ensuring stable prices, full employment, and economic growth. So this is a tool that the government can use to secure the future of sustainable development and also to enhance all the principles of sustainability. And then lastly, another tool is the legal instruments and how they can play a big role in ensuring a sustainable development, and ensuring sustainable development. So generally, having the right legal framework in place in a country gives legal certainty to internal and external investors. And so the legal framework will not only determine how investors would be investing in the different sectors that are intended to achieve sustainable development or to achieve the UN SDGs, but also the legal framework can be a tool that is used to reduce on the environmental impacts of the different activities in societies. For instance, if there are laws to outlaw gas flaring, oil spills, pollution, if those laws are in place, then the government can use them as a way of shaping the future of sustainable development. So the legal framework, the economic policies, and also consumer pressure, they do play a big role in ensuring sustainable development. But remember, all these have to be looked at the 4 levels we already talked about: the international level or international community. And this ones play a big role with respect to enacting the treaties and also setting the international goals that are really focused on sustainable development, like we saw the UN SDGs. Then the regional community, the regional initiatives, because remember with regionalism, it incorporates countries that have common challenges, and these common challenges can be addressed through common solutions. So it's the same thing with sustainability. If there are sustainable issues in a region, then regionalism or regional cooperation should play a big role in ensuring that countries come together to address those common challenges by employing a common solution. Then the national level or national community that involves governments and citizens, and also the local community is like the consumer pressure, what is your role as a person in your community? So all these do play a big role in securing the future of sustainability. So in your free time, you can try to identify what some of those roles, how these communities can shape the future of sustainable development. But remember, still you have to look at a few case study. And lastly is the role of digitalization and technology, because technology is very key in achieving a sustainable society. And technological advancement has been a marked feature of the 21st century, whereby all sectors of the economy are embracing technology and AI. And technology is not only visible in the energy sector, but it's also visible in the education sector. Right now, I'm using a webcam to communicate. The transport sector, fashion, construction, all those need technology. So as we are looking at the future of sustainable development, we should look at the role of communities, the economic instruments, the legal instruments, consumer pressure, and then lastly, the role of technology. So at the end of the day, you are the future of sustainable development. You and me, we have a big role to play in shaping the sustainable future we are talking about, in achieving all the sustainable development goals and achieving all the principles and pillars of sustainability. We have a role to play. In your free time, you can refer at the different UN SDGs and ask yourself what the future holds for those SDGs. This marks the end of the session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.